It's Friday. It's pre-recorded. Now the show Dozens Love the 9 Years podcast.
Makes the heart grow fonder. When we first met, it felt like we'd been friends for so much longer. They say absence makes the heart grow fonder. When we first met, it felt like we'd been friends for so much longer. You were hanging at the snooker club and you were acting kinda hyper. You're singing with the Gloucester Mire and you're Louis Roddy Piper. It's like a car was hanging up from here till the day we texted for the first time and the world just got a little brighter. They say absence makes the heart grow fonder. When we first met, it felt like we'd been friends for so much longer. They say absence makes the heart grow fonder. When we first met, it felt like we'd been friends for so much longer. When we first met, it felt like we'd been friends for so much longer. So much longer. So much longer. So much longer.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another 9 years. Oh, no, I got it wrong. This is going to sound terrible at the start of the podcast. I'm not going to change it because I can't be bothered. This is actually the podcast, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is like episode 213, bus route to Kingston to Cheam, I think, for the 9 years podcast. So, yeah, you're listening to the voice of Nick Draper, who doesn't know what day it is, clearly, or what he's doing. No difference there. I am joined, as always, by the face of the BBC Sport website, Mr. Stuart Deakins,
Hello.
George Jones, and Kevin Boras.
Good evening.
And Unai Emery, apparently, again, making good return.
Still doing that.
He was so keen last time. He came on again.
He came again just to say good evening, even though it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, but you don't know when people listen to it.
And that this is also true.
I've never heard him say good morning.
No.
So I can't do that.
Maybe during the podcast he'll say something else today. Who knows?
I'll ask him.
You miss him, don't you?
I liked him. I thought he was the nicest manager. He just seemed like really polite. I know a couple of journalists, when they interview him, he's always really nice. He makes sure they've got a drink and they leave with a sandwich. It's like just bizarre. It's like he's looking after him. I'm sure Eddie Howe's a lovely man. I'm not saying
Unless you're taking 3 points from them, you don't get a sandwich.
no, which quite often that's why he's not Arsenal manager. Arteta, you don't get biscuits. With Emery, you got biscuits, drinks, sandwiches, a handshake, and a welcome. And how are the family? He didn't know what he was saying. Yeah, I liked him.
With Arteta, you don't get biscuits. Another tagline for the podcast.
Yep, there you go. Well, that's what it should be called then.
From now on, we'll call it that.
Okay.
Kevin there has dropped in a reference to Eddie Howe. That is, of course, because our very, very special guest, who we're delighted to welcome to the podcast today, is Bournemouth's and England's Aaron Ramsdale. Aaron, thank you very much for joining us.
No worries. How are we all, guys?
All right.
All good. How are you? Whereabouts are you joining us from today? Are you
in Bournemouth?
You are in Bournemouth.
Yeah, I'm in Bournemouth.
Close to the training ground, I imagine, or?
Yeah, it's not far away. It's not the biggest place, so all the lads kind of live in a 2-mile radius, so you always see each other about if you're on a run and things, so it's not too far away, but it's not too close where you're on top of it.
I imagine the the playing staff of Bournemouth have reduced the average age of the town quite considerably. Is that unfair of me to suggest?
Well, you'd think so, but it is a quite elderly area. But yeah, there's a lot of us youngsters running around now, so you could say they're trying their hardest.
But there's a university in Bournemouth, isn't there? Is that right?
Yeah, you don't see
So-
many students. I don't know where they'll go in the evenings, but
Not Bournemouth. They go to Boscombe.
yeah, possibly, yeah.
Because I thought Bournemouth was quite a young face. Like Eastbourne is like God's waiting room, isn't it? And Bournemouth, I thought Bournemouth. I've worked in Bournemouth many years ago. Lovely place.
Yeah, I think the part which we all live in, the Camford Cliffs area, I think that's more of the elderly area. And then you go into the heart of Bournemouth, where the university is. I think you'll find a lot of younger characters and people.
Mm. Stu, just because people are younger than you doesn't mean the area is a young area.
I say about old people and then forget I'm getting old.
Yeah.
I stopped counting when I got
They were
past
making a
30.
complete reference to me, and I take offence. That's fine.
I was going to say nothing. I will say nothing as the second youngest. Oh no, third youngest on this particular chat. But anyway,
George isn't the youngest. Good grief!
George is not the youngest.
Wow.
That's a scary thought.
Scary, yeah.
That is right. Wow. Right, so Aaron, you are down in Bournemouth at the moment. Obviously, no football, no training, no nothing like that. How are you keeping yourself occupied during the current lockdown?
Yeah, so obviously it's tough, but going on runs every other day. Got myself an exercise bike now. Obviously, not knowing how long we're in this predicament for. So at first we sort of got told just to keep fit, keep ticking over. But now we've actually been sent sort of our programs which we'd have in the off season. So it's more minimal, but it's higher explosion stuff. So we're only probably doing 3 days a week, maybe 4. But the things are a lot more suitable for us, and they've actually been worked for us. So there's things which we're doing in the garden, just where every now and then when I see my dad, he'll kick balls at me and things like that, just to try and keep in shape. But there's not much you can do really, other than thankfully the sun's been out, so we've been out able to go on runs and things, and it's not a bad place to go and run when you can run along the beach and things like that. So it's probably it really. It's quite boring, but just running an exercise bike, same as a lot of people.
In a normal football season, when you get to the end of the season, how much time do you actually get off from doing anything? So there must be a period between the end of May and when you go back to pre-season training. Are you doing anything like fitness regimes during that time, or do you literally have a period of like 2-3 weeks where you don't have to worry about keeping fitness levels up or anything like that?
I think the way I've always done it and the way I've been given, my programs have been set up, I think from the end of the season until the start of June, I think is that's your time to really switch off and not do anything. Mm-hmm. They're the times where you can, if you're a young lad, go on holiday and enjoy yourself and things like that. And then I think when it gets to June, you start thinking about the season and you start looking at your programs, which you do, and you start doing a little bit of fitness here and there. But I think the directly 2-3 weeks after the season's finished, I think that's when you can switch off and not do anything really. Because
I would thought you'll need that time. With this current situation, it's indefinite when we're actually going to be getting back. At some point, you guys are all going to need to have a break, I assume. So it's just really hard to know what to do, isn't it? So yeah, that's why we've now been given the programs, just because I think when we were taking over, a lot of the lads were doing a lot more endurance-based stuff, and I think the club were just saying if we're in lockdown for a month or month and a half, 2 months, then you might end up burning yourselves out, because we'll have a bit of time before the season starts where we'll have a mini fitness pre-season, and if the lads are already really sharp and that pre-season blows us out, then obviously we can end up losing players through injuries or just being mentally and physically fatigued when we've got 3, 4, 5 games left of the season. So it is good to have a break, and now we can semi-switch off, but we're still doing physical activities, and we've just got to wait for the government, really. It's out of everyone's hands. We've just got to make sure everyone's safe first, and just football's
obviously at the start, at the front of everyone's mind, but it's also at the back of everyone's mind as well, because this is taken over and it's more important.
Yeah, I was just being nosy. Obviously, you said you've got an exercise bike. So have you joined the craze of a lot of sports stars now, the peloton cycling, where you've not gone that far yet, no?
I'm not that good. I've got the Strava app and things like that, where you can, anybody who's on at the time, you can virtually race with,
right?
And it just puts you higher in a leaderboard, but it's not anybody motivating you and anything like that. There's loads of different things you can do on it, but I've just got that where it's also to put your iPad there and it's something to look at, something to, if someone's in front of you, if they've been on longer or they're working harder, it's someone to catch.
Yeah.
But I'm not that big on the cycling. I'd like to get into it a little bit more, but yeah, the peloton, that's probably out of my experience at the moment.
It's just a lot of the cricket stars now are doing that, because obviously sports people are competitive, aren't they? That's just their human nature. So no, just chucking on that. I suppose my question for you really is, in terms of the endurance and stuff like that, we've been talking to quite a lot of players over the last couple of weeks, and they've all been keeping sharp with runs and stuff. I suppose for a goalkeeper, it's a little bit different, because yes, you've got to be fit now in the Premier League, but equally, is there anything you're doing to keep your reactions? Do you know what I mean? So I'm being stupid here, but doing bowling, or you're saying your dad's throwing things at you and stuff like that. Is there anything you can do to keep that sort of sharpness?
No, definitely. That's where the individual programs have come into it. Like you say, you could be the fittest goalkeeper running 10k and doing it in the same time as the outfield players, but it's the sharpness of the fitness of getting up off the floor, like the reactions, like you say, the hand-eye coordination. So in our programs, as silly as it sounds, if there's no one there to kick a ball at you, we are being asked to sort of just dive without no ball, without no one serving. So your body's still getting the impact of hitting the floor. You're still using your fast twitch muscle fibers to get off the floor.
Right.
And a lot of our runs are short and sharp. A lot of the stuff on the bike is 6 to 10 seconds maximal effort. Things like that. Because in a game, a goalkeeper, unless they've gone up for a corner and they're sprinting back, they're probably not sprinting more than 10 yards. So a lot of our stuff's like that. And yeah, like you say, there's exercises everywhere where even just a tennis ball at a wall, throwing it and catching it, simple things like that. Someone throwing it from behind you and you don't know when it's coming, just to catch it. And just simply, your dad, your brother, partner just kicking the ball at you. Doesn't matter if it's hard or fast or what, just to keep your eye in of catching it. And that's the main thing. A lot of the goalkeeping physical as well is a lot of mental side. So there's a lot more, I'd say, on our behalf of keeping your brain active and sort of workshops which have that included.
Nice. In terms of the season then, and getting back into match action and actually getting onto a football pitch again, what are your thoughts? What are you say you're anticipating to go back whenever the government say so? And is that what you want to do? Is that what you want to go back as normal, finish off the season? You've got 4 or 5 games left, as you say. Well, no, you've got more than that. You've got what, nine games left. That's what you'd like to do, yeah? And then be it in front of empty stadiums or not.
Yeah, I think with it being my first season in the Premier League as well, I think that's probably why I'm more on that side of getting the season finished. You can say you've got unfinished business, you've got awards to try and win, and also try and play as many games as you can. And you want that first season to be a real success as much as it can be. Like I mentioned before, I think the safety of everyone's paramount in whatever we do at the moment. But again, being a younger lad, coming off the back of under 23 football not so long ago, playing England games in semi-empty stadiums, it's not too disnormal for me. I've experienced it quite a lot of playing in front of no one. And I guess, if you're playing at the Emirates or Old Trafford and there's no one there, of course it's going to be really weird and strange. But I think if we get to a point where we can actually play again and get them games televised, even if it's 3 games a day over the week, so you can just roll into a game every hour for the fans or whatever. I think we can get 4 games done behind closed doors, and then we can go back into playing in front of the fans. I think that'll be a lot better than waiting for the fans. Obviously, they're a massive part, but like you say, we want to disrupt next season as little as possible.
Yeah.
But as long as the fans can still be involved by watching every game, I think would be my personal. That'd be my personal view. Just to get back as soon as possible when safe, and then just move on from there. Really.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, the Premier League this podcast goes out on Friday, so the Premier League are meeting today on that sort of side as what's happening. And it looks like now there's a bit of pressure now to get things going. I suppose from my point, I was thinking in terms of if the worst come to happen and they basically done the league in none and void, which is the most toxic situation, that means you never made your debut for Bournemouth in that situation. However, Bournemouth are in a challenging situation in the Premier League. Wimbledon are very similar in terms of we're just above the relegation zone. And I've said, when we've been chatting to players and we're chatting to Ben Hodges, it's interesting you said mental strength, because I think that's going to be key for players, because playing in a stadium with no fans on a game that means so much, that's going to be challenging surely for the team, because Bournemouth, just looking from, finished against Liverpool, but had wins against Brighton and Villa, so we're hitting some form. All of a sudden now you're going to have a massive break, go back in, could be like the start of the season, but for you guys, the Premier League is so important. That's surely going to be a big challenge to play in front of no fans.
Yeah, it's, especially for our fans, same as Wimbledon, the fans are so connected with the team. Obviously, Bournemouth, Premier League club, only 12,000 fans go. From where they've been from to where they are now, the amount of games which have actually been won when the fans have pushed them over the line, just being behind them so much. Of course, it's going to be so hard to replicate that, especially if, like you say, a game where we need to win and it's a team haven't really got much to play for. They're sitting mid-table and they're just sort of playing for nothing. You sometimes find that hard as players to try and play against that, because they're not necessarily attacking full-heartedly, not really sitting back. They're just playing the game, and you need them fans to drive you on. And of course, it'd be huge to play. It'd be a huge miss for the fans and for us players to play without them. But like you say, there's a lot of people in our situation. Aston Villa, if they didn't go to the cup final and they won their game in hand, they wouldn't be in the bottom 3. Sheffield United just come up, probably the best season they've ever had, possibly ever will have, maybe getting into the Europa League or Champions League, and then you go and null and void the season. I think it'd be very harsh for every team. Just look at Liverpool, how well they've done, and they're going to be not giving the champions just the 2 games away. So as much as they're going to be a huge miss, I think if you can get a way around it, like we said before, of just 1 or 2 free games without the fans, but still include them by watching, and then you can go, right, everything's fine, go back to normal last 6 games of the season. I think that's the perfect scenario for me, rather than just null and voiding it or waiting another 2 months to try and start it up.
I have a question. It's Kevin. My question is looking slightly into the future. A lot of press talk, a lot of media stuff and coverage about your chances of getting into the Euros, England squad for the Euros. Okay. Now, whether that was going to happen or not, there's a good chance that you were going to get in the squad possibly. Moving the Euros by a year, do you think secretly that might actually help your case of getting in the squad?
Again, there's pros and cons for it again. I think if I can continue to have a good year in the Premier League next year again, obviously that's going to be a massive boost on my side. Me looking at it a little bit negatively is Pickford's Jordan's not had the greatest of seasons, but next year can be completely different for him. He could be flying high next year. So Jack Butland could be back in the Premier League. He could be flying high next year. All these things could change. And whereas this season I could have been fourth in the top four, then next season might be a different thinking where it could be the 6 or 7 good English goalkeepers playing in the Premier League going for that squad. So as much as that it is giving me more time to try and prove myself, it's still all down to me to perform week in, week out consistently. But yeah, it's definitely something which I can look forward to. So I think, to your answer, I think, yeah, it's given me more time and it's given me a better chance to get into it than I probably would have had this year.
Tell you what's interesting, because I've discussed this with other Wimbledon fans. When Tom Heaton got injured, after thinking, I like Tom Heaton, he's a good keeper, he's injured, everyone thought, that's a good chance for Aaron then. It's almost like, okay, what is you don't want to see anyone getting injured. But to me, that was the thinking of Wimbledon fans was, okay, Tom Heaton's injured, then Aaron's going to be in Gareth Southgate's chosen 3. I mean, it's horrible to think of players getting injured, but it's a selfish game, football. It's not just, you got to think about yourself as well. Yeah,
and like I say, it's a cruel game, but no more so than being a goalkeeper. As one person plays, 3 people go, and 2 of you know that you're not playing, and you've got to be the right people for that squad and the manager to be able to help the other lads perform. But yeah, when Tom did get injured, obviously it's never nice because he's such a great guy in the game, and he's probably one of the ones who, whenever you see him around the England camp or you see him at a Premier League game, you spend 10, 15 minutes chatting to you, seeing how you are. He's always asking other people, other coaches he's worked with and I've worked with about me. So yeah, I was devastated that he got injured, and then, but selfishly, like you say, you do think,
yeah,
that's one down. I've then got 3 more to try and get past.
Do you think Jack Butland's above you?
Who?
Do you think Jack Butland's above you in the this season? Come on, he's not been great. He's had a shocking season up for first half.
No, but there's still 3 other goalkeepers in front of me who've been picked in the last few England squads.
Yeah, Nick Pope was one, I guess. Who's the other one?
Pope, Dean Henderson. He's had a great season. And it's been good for me and him. Obviously, we've been in quite a few England camps with each other. He's a year older, so whenever I've sort of stepped up or trained with him. So we've got a good relationship, and obviously him being at my former club, him doing so well, him being so young, it's been great to see. And I've been thriving off him really, seeing the good press he's getting, trying to get with him. He's got himself into the England squad. So, but yeah, like you say, obviously, when people get injured, it's about luck in this game, and
yeah,
it'd have been lucky if Tom got injured and I'd have got into the squad, and but like you say, we've got another year, so I've got to try and battle it out and try and get in there, not fairly, but fairly.
It's interesting what you're saying, Kevin, actually, in terms of watching Match of the Day and he was getting injured. I don't mind watching the Match of the Day, but I normally watch Match of the Day for the Premier League. To me, seems like a bit of a fantasy league sometimes in terms of the extra money and stuff. But I have to say, this season I've actually looked forward to watching games, and from I think Wimbledon fans, I think we're very proud that we had a goalkeeper last year that's gone straight into the Premiership. he's doing so well. I think last season we all said that you looked a future England goalkeeper. I don't think we thought you were going to go straight back to Bournemouth and go straight in there. But I suppose sort of going back to Wimbledon. How much did you enjoy that time at Wimbledon? How important did it give you any insight as to what was needed for this season for Bournemouth?
As you can tell, when you mention Wimbledon, I get a big smile on my face. So that probably explains how much I enjoyed my time there. I spoke to Bezo today. Still speak to most of the lads. So that there's not one day I went to Wimbledon and didn't enjoy it. There's so many times I can say I'd go back to if someone would tell me to go back anywhere. Loved it. Loved the club. Loved all the people. Gutted I couldn't have played at Plough Lane. I was seeing all that stuff now is pretty amazing. Hopefully it can get all sorted. But I never thought I'd have done what I've done this season. I thought I was going to go back on loan to the Championship, do another year or 6 months there. But the year before, when I went to Chesterfield, it was sort of just to get me out to play games. Don't really matter how you perform, just go and play. And then when I came to Wimbledon, it was a lot more about performances, how to perform, how to play. And I remember just having chats in the first few weeks of my loan when I think we beat Fleetwood in the cup, drew to Coventry, and I was just thinking, well, how are these lads in this situation? And then we got spanked by Fleetwood at home, spanked by Barnsley at home, spanked away somewhere. And then I was just having chats in the rest of saying about how my game is going to the same sort of way they're playing. So back passes and things where normally I'd take a touch and I'd assess. I'd still end up going long because that was the plan, but it'd be in a more controlled way. So a lot more things were going through my head through that Wimbledon loan of how to actually play the game properly. I knew the physical side of it, but also the mental side of being in a second relegation battle, but then in a team which actually could stay up. At Chesterfield, we just weren't good enough. But for some reason, everything clicked when we were at Wimbledon, and that's what it was. And then that time was when I first believed that I could play at the top level. When I went to Chesterfield, it was, like I say, just about playing. Right, I can play at League Two. And then Wimbledon, at first, it was, okay, I can hold my own here. I can play in League One. And then it's gradually got better and better. And it was probably the first time my eyes opened and was like, right, I've got the tools and the experience now to push on and play at the top level. And like I said, I never thought I'd have played this season in the Premier League, but if I didn't go on loan to Wimbledon last season, I definitely wouldn't have played this year.
And what were your emotions going into that first? Because we were saying on the podcast the other day, actually, it's quite funny how certain teams seem to come up in your career at various points. And obviously you were at Sheffield United and then made your professional debut at Sheffield United, is that right? Yeah,
I made 2 FA Cup games, my first one, yeah.
Yeah, and then they're your opposition for your first Premier League start as well. It's just one of those things, I guess. But what were your emotions going into that then? When did you learn that you were starting? Did you find out the day before or in the morning? And what were your initial reactions?
Yeah, so I found out on the Friday before training. I was just playing 2-touch with a few of the lads, and one of the goalie coaches runs down panicking, out of breath. He's like, "You spoke to the manager yet?" I was like, "No." He's like, "He's looking for you." So I was like, I actually thought I'd done something wrong, because most of the time in the previous years at Bournemouth, whenever I spoke to the manager in his office, I'm getting told off.
We won't ask for what. We won't ask why.
No. So I went up there and he just started. Remember, it's clear as anything, he just started with, "At least I'm getting one good chat today." And then I just kind of had a hint, and he just went, "You can smile now. You're starting tomorrow." And I just remember just like this feeling coming from my chest and my shoulders, and it literally just lifted and went away.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember having a big smile on my face. And by that point, I just forgot it was Sheffield United. The whole pre-season, I was thinking I'd love to play. Me and David Brooks, obviously, were there at Sheffield United. We were all both of us talking about how good it would be, both of us playing, both of us against Sheffield United. And then obviously he got injured. And I think that's probably when I switched off who we were playing against.
Right.
And then when he told me I was playing, it was just like, right, I'm playing in the Premier League. Wasn't thinking about who I'm playing. Just thought about the process of how I did everything at Wimbledon, how I do everything at England. So the way I eat, the way I sleep, everything like that just goes back to normal. Didn't change anything. Just stuck to the process I've done for the past 10 years. And it was quite funny seeing the lads in the tunnel. I didn't really want to go over to them and give them like high five or hugs. They didn't really want to come, and it was almost like we didn't even know each other. And then we went out for the game, and I remember the Greasy Chip Butty song that their away fans were singing it, and I was humming it in my head. And next thing you know, McGoldrick threw on goal, and he tries to like chip/shot against me, and I managed to save it. And I was like, "Oh, I'm in a game now. I need to concentrate." But that's the way I've done it. It's the way I was like when I was with you guys. Like, if fans are singing songs about you, I used to join in, sing it about myself. That's how I deal with things. I don't get cooped up about it and think about it. I just join in, and then it's just gone. And you try and earn respect off the away fans, even when they're calling you every name under the sun. Just if something happens, you don't get as much stick. So I don't really think too much about Sheffield United going into it. But like I say, it is funny how certain teams crop up in your career once something's happened with them.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll feature in your career at some point down the line, and I'm sure you'll play at one point. Stu's got a question, but I have a feeling Stu's probably thinking the same thing I'm thinking about singing along with songs whilst you're on the pitch. Any songs about champagne, perhaps, that you might have been humming to yourself, or no?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
No, okay, all right. I'll leave Stu to carry on.
We've been asking the footballers their favourite songs, and I think Paul Cannonbay's song was one of their favourites. It's Backstreet Boys or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Do you know this one, Aaron? I don't know if you'll know this one because we started this one this season.
Oh, was that a new one this week?
Yeah, the first time I heard it was Ipswich Away, which is
First one.
Yeah.
It's a champagne song, isn't it?
Yeah.
I suppose you come into the FA Cup, so you obviously beat Fleetwood, which then gave us the home tie against West Ham. I think you had many different highlights, but from your time at Wimbledon, what are your personal highlights in sort of games where obviously you felt maybe that we could turn a corner, or you thought you played well, or just generally, what are your highlights from that time?
Yeah, the first game, the Fleetwood game, I turned up on the Friday. We did a half an hour session, went through the team, went through set plays, basic Friday, and then got on a train and went to Fleetwood. Didn't know anyone. In fact, I tell a lie, I knew Tyler Garrett from when I was at Bolton as a kid, but I hadn't seen him for 5 years. So it was just, I stayed with him. I was literally in the room with Tene, and I was just on my phone looking at names to faces on the website. And we played the game, we went 2-0 up. Thought, this is great. 2-2, and then we scored last minute. And that was probably one of my favourite games because I earned a lot of respect that day from the players who hadn't got a clue who I was, didn't care who I was or what age I was. I just earned the respect by playing the game. And that, for me, was better than going in pre-season, them learning all about me, and then having respect for me as a person and a player. football's not about who you like, it's about if you're good players or not. So that day for me was massive. I enjoyed that one so much. The game, obviously West Ham, a magical night. The Walsall game away, Tuesday night game, I think that's when I first thought we can actually do this. I always thought we could do it all the way through for some reason. But then when we beat Walsall, it was actually like, right, we've got a very, very good chance of doing this now. And then we went on to beat Southend, Doncaster, 3 games in a week, 3 clean sheets. Then we went to Rochdale on a Tuesday night. 300 odd fans came. Great game for them on a 4-3. The scenes at Luton, I don't know how that happens. Anthony Wordsworth 5 rows back in the fans. Obviously, I think that's probably the best save I've ever made as well in that game.
I was going to say, that's important. That was an unbelievable save, wasn't it?
I think that is probably my best save I've ever made. So there's so many highlights from the games. And obviously I can't forget the Bradford game, possibly the worst game of football I think we played.
Oh, yeah.
In the 6 months I was there. Even when we got spanked against Fleetwood and Barnsley, we still played better football, even though we lost, than we did against Bradford. We were hopeless.
Do you think that was nerves? Do you think that was nerves, Aaron?
Yeah,
at all?
for sure. 100%. Because nothing changed. We didn't change anything. None of the team talk changed. None of the players changed. None of the staff, anything. We were hopeless. But Bradford were horrendous as well, which I think
it helped.
and it also didn't give us no spark. If the team were half decent we were playing against on the day, I think we'd have been kicked into emotion and we'd have actually played the way we played for the past 4 months. But they were done. So it was just like back and forth with just fizzled out at the time. But the scenes at the end of that day, actually went on for a week for me. But but I was actually looking at them the other day. There's a video of me and I think Wally's trying to do. He's trying to do like a speech over the microphone, stood on the building, and I come out and I've got nothing on. My shorts have been taken, my shirt's been taken. I've just got my cycling things on, and I just remember hugging him. I've got my phone, taking a video, and special memories. That they were special.
But it's funny that day. The day was really strange. It's like we were already nervous, but the game itself was, as you said, that was one of the worst games of football I think I've ever seen. But from that final whistle, that was one of the. You then just remember the whistle going, and that was the best days you've had as a football fan. Kind of strange day.
It was one of the weirdest for me as well, because I got told on the way up on the train on the Friday that Mark Travers was going to be playing on the Saturday for Bournemouth against Tottenham. We were playing at 5:30. So they told me on the Friday to say, listen, as a heads up, I just completely lost my head because I spoke to them in the week on the Tuesday because there was rumours that I might go back and play the last game of the season for Bournemouth. But on Tuesday they were like, oh, you're not allowed because the loan doesn't finish until our season finishes. But they knew on the Tuesday that Mark Travers was going to play. But they told me a day before the game, so I was not happy. So I watched him play an absolute unbelievable game, won 1-0, got man of the match on his Premier League debut. And then I've got the biggest game of my life coming up, and it was horrendous. So I had so many mixed emotions, but when the first whistle went, it was just, like you said, it was a horrendous game. I couldn't enjoy it one bit. And then the final whistle goes, and I was like happy. And Cormac came from behind one of the fans. He was in the Bradford end. And he went, I said I was going to do this on the last day of the season if we stayed up. So he ran on with me and we ran up to the top where everyone else was. And I didn't want to believe it at first. I didn't want to over-celebrate in case anything happened. And I just see Bezo and he's like in tears. and by then I knew that it was done. But
Yeah, Cormac is still celebrating 9 months later.
I think it was,
11
yeah.
months later, isn't it?
It was a weird day though, wasn't it? Because like
It was.
I remember it well. Like in terms of, I can't remember us taking so many fans to an away game.
No.
It felt like everyone who's anyone who's a Wimbledon fan. Like, I remember seeing so many fans I've not seen for ages, and there was such a big. And it's weird because it was in our hands. It was we were controlling our own destiny, weren't we? And the problem was Bradford, as you say, were terrible, absolutely terrible, and their fans didn't seem to care too much either. So you thought going to a team at the bottom of the league, really you should beat them, but you're obviously nervous, and then it felt like the last 20 minutes. I think if I remember correctly, we made a sub. It felt like more of a defensive sub to sort of sit on the draw was good enough for us. But that last 20 minutes was just crazy because I was thinking to myself, we shouldn't lose this game, but one bad moment or a bit of luck, that's it. All the hard work we've done is over. So, yeah, I must admit, when the game was over, I was so pleased because I was like, I want to forget that season. It was just so hard work as a fan was on that side.
I keep imagining something that maybe didn't happen. It was about 10 minutes to go. Didn't Will try and clear a corner and he scuffed it behind himself out for another corner? I don't know if I've imagined that, if that really happened.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. I'll leave that one there.
Yes, I mentioned that.
I imagine you let him know
I'm
about
glad
it.
it happened, though. It's like dreams and anything else.
I think, like you said, we brought someone on with 20 minutes to go.
It was Shane, wasn't it? McLaughlin? I think Shane
It
McLaughlin.
felt like a defensive sub. It felt
Yeah.
like.
Someone to sit in front, and then with 10 minutes left, he brought on Mitch Pinnock. And then we started to attack a little bit. And I remember Pins having a shot from about 30 yards, which went close, which was probably our closest. Other than I think we hit the post.
We did.
It was the closest we came. Yeah, there was about 20 minutes to go, and everyone was worked so hard. And everyone kind of forgets that. I was 21. Seds was 21. Paul Callenby was 20 or 19 or whatever he is. Will was 22, but still very inexperienced. And with the armband, it made him even more nervous. Terrell was only 22. We have Toby Sibic was 19, so we had one of the youngest back fives.
Yeah.
And like you say, one mistake, which I definitely I think would have gone through their heads through that game, which they've either made in that season, probably crept in. I think by the end of it, Tanay was on. I think we had Toby. I think we had about 7 defenders on by the end of the game. But I don't think anyone cares anymore. We did it. So
this is it. And we talk about how young our team and our squad was, but I wouldn't say that you particularly on the pitch strike anyone as being as young as you are, and you have a little bit of nous about you, shall we say? And you've mentioned the Doncaster game there. Do you remember a certain incident during the Doncaster game with a striker of theirs?
I got told off for that.
Did you really? Who told you off?
One of my coaches at Bournemouth.
Really?
Yeah, because he said I could have obviously been in trouble that incident as well.
Right.
But it's about keeping cool and not getting your emotions too high and things like that. Obviously, I pretended I knew what I was doing and stuff, but they were just saying, obviously, taking consideration other refs might see it differently in that. I just said he grabbed hold of my arm and threw him over, but I do remember that day, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Yeah, he just threw you to the ground, and that was him off. But anyway, we're very conscious of time for you, Aaron. You've mentioned Ashley Bays, obviously had a big influence on you, your time with us. And I think, Stu, do you have a game for Aaron with Ashley Bays in mind?
Yeah, so basically what we do a fact game. So it's basically I'm going to give you 5 facts, and one of them is going to be incorrect. One's going to be false.
Okay.
I normally give people a choice, but because I obviously know you got on so well with Bezo, I thought I'd do Bezo for you on that side of it. So the 5 facts, like I say, one is false, but I'll read them all out for you. So Ashley played over 500 games as a professional goalkeeper. Ashley joined Wimbledon as a goalkeeper coach in June 2013. Ashley started his professional career with Lincoln after being in their youth academy. Ashley's last club as a player was Basingstoke Town in the non-league, and Ashley played for England under-18s. What one is false? He must have talked about his career to you, surely.
He never mentioned England under 18s. I think the Lincoln one's true. I think played a lot of games as well. But he never spoke about where he finished. I'm going to say Bays and Stokes false.
Guys, you want to jump in? And
No, that was my guess too.
Okay,
I'm
the
going
false.
to say England was false.
Really?
Oh, in fact, no, sorry, Basingstoke was false.
Come on, George. You said in 40 minutes and it's wrong. Good God.
I'm just going to give you the answer, but I want to make sure I give you the correct. Yeah. So the actual false one was the Lincoln. He didn't.
Oh.
He was at Lincoln, but he didn't play professional football for Lincoln. His debut was at Brentford. I can't believe he didn't tell you about his England appearances.
No.
Never. That's actually surprised me. I thought you'd tell me every day. never once mentioned to me about England. Never.
It maybe didn't go too well, maybe for him.
Yeah,
He
true.
didn't get any further than 18s, did he? So it might not have. I'll have to tell him that.
How crazy! We've known Bezo for years, and I always find being around Bezo, I mean, you feel knackered because he's so full of energy. Is that what you needed, or how was he? Because he's a unique character.
It's what I needed at that time. I had the 6 months I had previous coming back from Chesterfield, got pre-season, broke my thumb, wasn't really applying myself at all properly, doing the wrong things, going out every other weekend, and I just didn't want to play football in Bournemouth. I just wanted to get away from Bournemouth. I made that no secret to them. Probably why I was getting in trouble a lot before. But at that time, I just wanted to go away and play football, and that's what I needed the most. And Bezo was perfect for the time where I was in. You do need a lot of patience with him, and because, like you say, you do feel mentally drained when you're with him. But he is the life and soul of that football team. I couldn't have wished for anyone better to have spent it with. And he just lifts everyone. And you know when he's in a room, you can... The match day announcer calls his name out when we go out for a warm-up. That's unheard of. So that shows how much of a bond he has with the club and the fans. So without trying to get him away from your club, he's a lot higher than standard where he's at the moment.
Yeah.
The only thing for Bezo, which sounds weird as a 21-year-old telling him, but I've said to him, a lot of people first and foremost will say Bezo the character rather than the goalie coach. But that's him. If you take that away from him, I don't think you get as good as results as what you've got. And obviously, I know Longy from when I was at Sheffield United. Still, obviously, Maka, Tans, even Tom King, who was with you before, I still speak to all the time.
Yeah.
They've never got a bad word to say against him. Even Calaruso, I think you had before. Every time he speaks about him, no one has a bad word. So, someone who gives him a chance at a higher club, or you guys get into the higher divisions, he'll only keep improving because he's just got the best work ethic, and he's just got so much time for everyone. He sent me a clip the other day of he's been at home and he's been analysing other keepers and things like that. Like, he's just got the best work ethic I've probably come across, with the least amount of equipment necessary. Like, we got like the fishnet things from the is it the blue and yellow and blue thing?
Yeah.
So they brought us that. And I think last time the club brought in some equipment was the year before with Longy with some blow up mannequins. So we've got this new fishnet thing, and he's buzzing. He's got it out all the time, every day. I think we used it for about 2 weeks straight, and he never lets it down because I made the save at Luton from a deflection, which is the same as what the fishnet works on. And it was about 2 weeks after we got that, and he never lets it down. But he's always trying to do new things, and like I say, I've got no bad word to say about him, and he was perfect for me and what I needed at the time.
I think he sounded,
we mentioned the phrase a mentally draining individual, and on that note, we're going to pass over to George because he's going to introduce a second game we have got for you. We call this one Paul Os Who, in honour of one of our young players.
Yeah,
Go on, George.
This game is sort of a guess-the-player game. The first round, you get 3 rounds of clues. The first round of clues is 5 players this player has played with. The second round of clues is team manager he's played under. And then there's the sort of giveaway clue at the end if you haven't got it yet.
Is this Bournemouth player now or anyone?
It's a AFC Wimbledon player.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
My apologies.
And did Aaron play with him?
Yes.
Cool, that helps.
Let's go. I'm going to kick myself if I don't get this.
Go on, George.
Okay, so the 5 players. Simon Francis, Brett Pittman,
I've got
Ryan Brunt, Charlie Osborne, and Callum Riley.
I've got it.
Have you?
Go on.
I think only person I know to play with Simon Francis is Scott Wagstaff.
Yeah, he's got it. He's got the first round again.
That
was rubbish first clue.
That was the only reason why I got it, because the other players who he played with, I ain't got a clue. But I remember, obviously, speaking to Waggy and trying to get to know the players and speaking about Frano. So as soon as he was mentioned, I think that was the only person.
Would that be at Charlton?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah.
Right. Oh, that's the quickest ever. That's got to have been quicker than... That's after one name.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's quicker than Glyn.
I know my former players, that's why. They're my teammates.
George, George, do you want to explain the links and then also give us the other clues?
Yeah, so it's Brett Pittman, who was with him at Bournemouth, Ryan Brunt at Leyton Orient, Carly Osborne at Bristol City, and Callum Riley at Gillingham.
Right, and the managers who don't include Chris Wilder at Oxford, because that never happened.
The 2 managerial clues would have been Phil Parkinson at Charlton and Steve Cottrell at Bristol. And the giveaway clue would have been that he scored versus West Ham.
If you'd have given me the managers first, I'd have struggled a lot.
We might do that from now on, George, because the players are getting these quite quickly.
Yeah, you're rubbish, George. Rubbish.
Yeah.
Just very quickly on the Scott Wagstaff. We were speaking about him the other day. How much of a wind-up merchant is he? Because he gets people... He's the nicest bloke off the pitch. But God, has he got a bit of a fiery side, hasn't he? On the pitch, he gets people in trouble, doesn't he?
Yeah. Can I say arsehole? Sorry, but he is on the pitch. He's someone you need. He is someone you need in your team who can do that side. Obviously, I know sometimes it gets him booked and then he's running a fine line. And I think when he got sent off in a game this year, which he should never have got sent off in, and he was silly. And was it Portsmouth maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of. I think it might have cost the team a little bit, but the amount of times he helps on that side of it as well, he's still got the old school sort of nastiness about him and tries to get into people's heads and things like that. So you definitely need him. But like you say, he's off the pitch, he's completely different. As about when you were saying wind-up merchant, he's the one getting picked on off the pitch.
Really?
Well, he won't admit that, but the car school, he used to get the most stick from the car school, so...
and it crosses the white line, it's a different animal. Right, Aaron, before we let you go, because we realise, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us, we've got one more sort of game where we're just going to fire some either-or questions at you. I'm just going to ask you to pick the first option that comes into your head.
Okay.
All right. So we'll start with mushy peas, yes or no?
Yes.
Sheep or goats?
Sheep.
Did Carol Baskin kill her husband, yes or no?
Not a clue that is, so no.
Okay, all right. Aaron Ramsey or Aaron Eckhart?
Ramsey.
Would you rather go to Bermuda with Mitch Pinnock or Bognor with Leanne Pinnock?
Mitch Pinnock.
VAR, yes or no?
Yes.
Premier League safety or FA Cup win?
FA Cup win.
Dean Court or Dean Gaffney?
Court.
And then the final three, the most important three. Number one, should we sack George, yes or no?
No.
Oh.
He got me on the show.
Fair point. Luton or Watford?
Luton, because my mate plays there.
Good answer. Correct answer. And finally, when you make a cup of tea, do you put the bag in the mug first or the milk in the mug first?
Oh, no, cup of tea in the mug first. Tea bag in the mug first.
Absolutely, 100%. Can I be very, very nosy and ask who you know at Luton?
Well, I knew Jack Stacey was there, and I was at Bournemouth. And then Harry Cornick. I lived with him when he was at Luton when he's there now.
Yeah.
Yes. Cool. Right, Aaron.
Can I ask a question?
You may indeed.
Who makes a cup of tea and puts the milk in first?
Well,
Great question.
That's a great question.
A goalkeeping link to the answer.
Yes, there is a former AFC Wimbledon goalkeeper currently at Luton Town, would you believe? That
James Shea.
It was James Shea.
He puts milk in first.
He's changed his answer now because he's realised and he's embarrassed. But his first answer to that question was milk goes in first.
So do you guys take the tea bag out, then put milk in, or still put the milk in with the tea bag in?
No, the bag comes out, then the milk goes in.
Yeah, I'll take the bag out.
There you go. See?
Correct.
Yes.
James Strait was so distraught. He caught us at a game and he said, "Can I record the answer again?" He was so distraught. He got absolutely hammered for it.
Shocking.
But yes, it's very important to us that all Wimbledon players know how to make a cup of tea correctly. So clearly you have been taught well.
Well, I used to have to make them on the bus at Sheffield United, so I've had lots of practice.
Okay. And did anyone there ever say that they had to have the milk in first?
No, because I wouldn't have made it from. I might have been 17, 18, but I still know how to make a cup of tea. So if they want it that way, they had to make it themselves.
And also, I must say, in favour of mushy peas as well, which, you'd be surprised at the amount of people who don't like mushy peas.
Yeah, I think it's a northern thing, the mushy peas. I think more southerners now are liking it, I think. But
yes.
Back when I was growing up, it used to be fish, chips, mushy peas and gravy, or sausage, mushy peas, chips and gravy. So it's just something I've been brought up on.
Yes, mushy peas are the best thing ever.
If you get it right, they are.
That is also true.
Get it right.
I have had some bad experiences in the past, but anyway.
I went to a chip shop in Bournemouth the other day. Oh, it was about a few months ago, and I asked for mushy peas, and they literally just give me some peas in a cup, but like the skin was taken off.
Amazing.
I was just like, that's
they were just squashing them with a fork. Like, there you go.
That's a mushy pea kit, isn't it?
It was not nice.
No, not make your own mushy peas, but hey. Cool. Aaron, thank you very much.
No worries. Thank you very much for having me.
And all the best for the rest of the season, whatever form that takes, whatever it looks like. And all the best, obviously, with your England chances as well. And I'm sure we will see you down at Plough Lane at a game at some point. I know you were down at Kingsmeadow earlier in the season. I'm sure you'll be back down when you can.
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely, yeah.
Thanks,
guys.
Thank
Aaron. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You're a star. Magic. What a legend.
21 years old. He doesn't
Yeah.
sound cool. He's
He
young.
don't talk like a 21, does he?
He's younger than George.
Yeah.
Extraordinary.
You know, that is terrifying for me, not just you guys.
Yeah, that did throw me a little bit when I was thinking, really?
Aaron Ramsdale is he's not 22 until May. He's born on a very auspicious day for our club. He's born the 14th of May.
Yeah, if I could
Shares his birthday with the FA Cup win. And
amongst other things. Yes.
Relegation, yeah.
And
And
relegation.
when Croydon's tram started, but that's another matter.
I would love Aaron Ramsdale to introduce himself saying, "Yes, I'm Aaron Ramsdale. I was born on May 14th, which was the same day that the Croydon tram system
Yeah, but
was
it is.
first ran. Claim to fame.
Yeah.
He is an absolute legend. And Stu was telling me yesterday, he said, Nick, all the players have picked Watford instead of Luton. And I said, no, they haven't all. And Aaron
He's a nice guy, though, isn't he? He's a nice guy. He's never going to pick Watford, was he?
No, because Watford are scum. And not anyone should ever pick them.
Oh, we did a bleep for that one, didn't we?
Horrible, pointless football club.
I'm very pleased he didn't know anything about that Tiger King programme. I've not seen it either, but he didn't know. I'm very pleased he'd been doing something else other than watching that.
I was surprised he didn't know. I thought he'd have watched that, but there we go.
I didn't realise that the bloke in it is no longer a free man, is he? The guy with the moustache, whoever he is, he's no longer a free man.
No, he was in jail, but whilst the season was still running, they were speaking to him from his cell. So, but Carol Baskin, on the other hand, has committed murder and quite clearly fed her husband or ex-husband to her tigers and has somehow got away with it. But hey, right. Her tigers will come home to
she
roost.
hasn't killed her husband or fed him to lions.
Say that
For
again?
legal reasons. For legal reasons, she hasn't killed her husband.
It wasn't lions, was it?
It wasn't lions, it was tigers. But
Or tigers, yeah.
Otherwise, it's called The Lion King. That's a completely different story.
I wouldn't have watched it if it was called that, but no, I've seen that. I know what happens in the end of that one.
Because Elton John's in it.
Oh, God. No.
Laugh.
All right, let's go on with some random news stories. And George, I'm going to get you out of the way first because once again, you've not chosen a random news story. You've chosen a football news story that people, bearing in mind, George, this is a football podcast, you probably have heard this already. But off you go.
Yeah, but this is a story that broke late last night. It was basically a story saying that Dundee have now reversed their vote and have voted to end the season below the Scottish Premiership, with all those games now being decided by points per game. And for me, this really is news because it's another precedent for the EFL to follow. Because I think we've seen the trend in the last 72 hours of certainly the season below the Premier League will not finish. And this is just the next step in the way for setting the precedent now and setting the framework to allow the EFL to cancel and allow another way for the season to end just in time to keep us up, thankfully, at the expense of Tranmere.
By 0.04 points.
Yeah, 0.04 points per game.
Yeah.
This is where the fun. Sorry, Nick. I was going to say this is when the fun's going to start, and when they make a decision, because I can just see legal stuff coming in left, right, and centre. Yeah,
George, did you mention about Hearts?
Yes, Hearts are now basically going to try and sue everyone in Scotland for all they've got, looking at what they're trying to threaten.
So Hearts get relegated, did they?
Hearts will be relegated from the Scottish Premiership, and they're behind by I think 2 points with a game in hand. So a very similar position to where Tranmere are.
And Hearts are a massive club.
Yeah. Also, you got Partick Thistle, who were a fairly big club in Scotland, being relegated to third tier because of this.
Yeah.
So there'll be a lot of clubs threatening lawsuits, and again, how they react to that will, I think, determine how the EFL sets out. Because especially in the EFL, they're going to have to decide if they want relegation or if they're going to try and fund it so just teams get promoted with no relegation. And if they have relegation, then it's going to open all kinds of trouble from teams like Tranmere who are close to staying up. But you have to think Bolton and Southend wouldn't be able to do anything because they're, gone already. I don't think they'd have a case to argue. But teams like Stevenage, I think, are bottom of League 2, who, Macclesfield might have a points deduction coming their way, so that would make it even more interesting. But
how's that? Sorry, Joy. How's that work? Because hasn't the national conference yet haven't made a decision? Is that right?
Yeah, the National League is having a vote this week and next week about whether to end their season, and depending on how that goes, they're then going to have a vote on what that means.
Because obviously everyone knows that we could be going to Barrow.
Yes. Well, Interesting
Well,
is
us, we're not going to League Two, but yeah.
no, but the Isthmian League below the Conference South, they've said no promotion, which sets the National League to say no promotion, no relegation. And if that
Which means
happens, then
we couldn't go down.
yeah, which then means there'd be no relegation from the Football League, which then makes us in a really difficult position because how can you have relegation from League One but no relegation from League Two?
Yeah.
And that's where this situation's going to get absolutely crazy and probably very legally interesting over the coming 2-3 weeks.
It was a good way for the League One to actually to balance itself again, have 24 rather than 23 teams.
Yeah, and that's why I'd imagine they'll let Barrow go because Barrow was so far at the top of the conference.
Yeah.
And the EFL does need an extra team. I'd imagine Barrow will be allowed promotion and the top 3 from League Two get promoted.
50 years since they ducked out. 50 years since they got relegated, I think. 1970, I think they got voted out.
Really? Hasn't changed much since 1970, probably.
No, my next door
certainly
neighbours are both from Barrow. I'll be quiet. I think they were replaced by Cambridge United in 1970. I think that's right. We can check. Let's not check, but I'm going to throw that out there and say that.
I'm just worried about legally interesting and whether that was a very disappointing sequel featuring Reese Witherspoon. I'm not sure. But anyway,
Legally blonde, then legally interesting, then legally dead.
legally, we've pushed this too far with a third film. Right. Who would you like to cheer us up with some other... In fact, Stu, I'm going to stop you there, actually. Before you even started, I'm going to stop you. Because it says on the script that your interesting random news story is a source, as in S-A-U-C-E, as in tomato sauce, a source of happiness. And my mind boggles at what that means.
So, obviously, as I try and cheer myself up with random stories, and you know what, it's been really good actually we've done this because it makes me look at other stories that I don't normally listen to or read. Sorry. Basically, this is tomato ketchup. Consumers have been asked to vote on their favourite tomato sauce. I'm going to do a little quiz.
Mine's tomato.
What brand of tomato sauce?
Not going to watch it now. We can watch it on ketchup later on. Thank you very much.
Oh, no.
Oh, give in. So it's a top 20. I suppose, quick quiz, where do you think the nationwide bestseller or favourite Heinz come? Where do you think they come?
7th.
I think
Is it the nationwide bestseller first?
yeah, I'd say first. I can't imagine Heinz would be anywhere other than first.
But it wasn't bestseller, so it's favourite, sorry.
Oh, okay.
So it's taste.
What's the question again? Heinz. So where's Heinz tomato ketchup in the
Yeah, where do you think Heinz win?
4th?
I'll say first.
Okay. So Sainsbury's was the first.
Yay! Sorry,
Waitrose come in at 5th. Heinz, their free selection, I think you got normal, barbecue and curry, I think, if I remember properly.
That's not tomato sauce, then.
Oh, no, that's beans, isn't it?
Where's it?
Oh, dear. Ignore me. You can
Just
tell
me
it's
messing
not-
up this week.
Oh, you can tell what lockdown's doing to me, can't you? They come 13th, 15th and 17th. Now,
I'm confused as to what? I'm confused as to
What in this world?
how is barbecue sauce even in a list of top 20 tomato sauces?
No, just tomato sauces. Anyway, Sainsbury's come top. That's the source of happiness.
So everyone should shop at Sainsbury's because they have the best tomato ketchup.
Sainsbury's first, Tesco second, then Carol Vorderman, then the letter X, the number 6, and then Mitchell Pinnock. Oh, okay, that's great. I think it's a great list.
No, that's my interesting story.
Thank you very much. Kevin, what's yours?
Well, mine's going to be the follow-on to yesterday, so I got his rank wrong. He was Captain Tom Moore, the 99-year-old man who was walking his garden to raise money. If you didn't listen to yesterday's show, I'm sure you know this already by now, he wanted to raise £500,000 for the NHS. And when we recorded this show, he'd raised 4.9 million. I said roughly about £5 million. Here we are, 24 hours later, he's raised £12 million for the NHS by walking up and down his garden. Now, brilliant. He should win Man of the Year, right? And then
Sports
I think
Personality of the Year.
Sports Personality of the Year, Man of the Year, Woman of the Year should be the New Zealand Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern. However, somebody else was accused of being negative. But I think someone made a really good point that it's fantastic this guy's done this, and he's finished it now. He's 100 in a couple of weeks' time. Incredible achievement. But the fact that he's had to do this to raise £12 million for the NHS, when there are billionaires all dotted all over the country who haven't done that, I think that's a very good point. And it's not being negative.
Yeah.
It's celebrating what he's done, but why should he have to do that? I think it's extraordinary. The fact he's done it, congratulations. Moving away from that, he shouldn't need to have walked up and down his garden 100 times to raise £12 million for the NHS. We're going to clap the NHS at 8 o'clock like we do every day, and it's fantastic. But there should be more than clapping. There should be money coming into them and helping them do an incredibly difficult job.
Totally agree.
The NHS could probably do without the clap right now.
If there's
a news story.
George, what's your point? So he's trying to get us back on track.
Oh, no. I've got a random news story, but I don't want to say it now because it's not really that interesting. But I was just amused to see, in sort of Stu fashion about nation's favourites, apparently Jeremy Clarkson has been voted Screen's greatest automotive icon. And that just caught my attention because there are two things in life I can't, well, there's many things in life I can't stand. Watford would be a main one. Barbecues would be another one. The sun. But Jeremy Clarkson and Top Gear list very high in my things of things I just can't stand. So there we go. I don't
want it anymore.
Not my world. Shall you leave it at that? Saying that, Kevin, you mentioned Women of the Year. Alexa Bliss has already won that. Sorry to
okay. She hasn't done quite the job of the New Zealand Prime Minister, but of uniting a country. But okay,
she's done other things that have impressed me. Things to do in lockdown.
Yeah.
Stu, what are you going to be doing in lockdown? Because you've probably just figured out what mine would be doing.
Yeah. So, do you know what? I went shopping today, and I realised I'm going to have to do something to make sure I can easily purchase things. I'm going to have to change my Face ID because it won't recognise it when I have a face mask on. So I'm going to have to take a new picture with my face mask on so my Face ID works. It's crazy, life.
For what?
So when I have a mask on, my Face ID doesn't work when I put a payment in.
It
doesn't recognise my face. Then I have to press the screen. It's such an inconvenience. So I'm going to record it. I'm going to basically do my picture with my face mask on so it recognises me.
Changing landscape of the world.
Shocking.
Yeah. George?
Oh, mine is, weirdly enough, it's a sporting.
Never.
I know, it's so hard to believe. And that's going to be on Friday, 2 p.m, Sky Sports main event. They're showing the Best of Boxing 2019. So that's Friday, 2 p.m. on Sky Sports main event, Best of Boxing 2019.
And you tune in, it's lots of people putting things in boxes. That would be so funny. Wouldn't it? There's lots of people packing stuff up. Best of Boxing. I'd love that.
We cross live to the Amazon warehouse in Nuneaton.
Yes, that'd be great, wouldn't it?
Here's Stu from Staffordshire.
Do you know, I thought you were going to pick, by the way, George, very quickly, because you're sporting. I see that they're doing a darts. They're doing a darts competition, aren't they? Online.
Yeah, from home.
Yeah, I thought you were going to pick that because it's going to be the first bit of sport. Well, if you class darts as a sport. But,
I should say that every sport's doing that, so I've stopped counting the sports.
Yeah, I thought you picked that. But, yeah, that looks like it could be a knockout, that one, George, yeah.
Hey.
Let's move on very, very quickly.
Kevin, what are you doing in lockdown?
Well, as I said, albums I've not played for a while. I don't think I've played this album for 10 years. So I'm going to be playing an album which I thoroughly recommend. A band called 100 Reasons, who were from
Yes.
and their first album, Ideas Above Our Station. Not played that for a long time. I'm going to be playing that. I spent the entire morning working on things, and I played everything by Public Service Broadcasting this morning. Played the whole thing. Great band. Most people probably know that the mainstay of that band, known as Jay Wilgers, is the son of Eric Samuelson. But I'm going to recommend 100 Reasons album, Ideas Above Our Station, as a thing to listen to. And tonight, Brooklyn Nine-Nine continues, Series 7, still as funny as ever. So my TV watching will be from 9 to 9:30 only, and I shall be watching that. Brooklyn Nine-Nine on E4.
I would listen to the 100 Reasons album if I could.
Oh, very good.
I can't locate it, but I've been saying that I'm sure 100 Reasons I will find you.
Very good, mate. Do you want any more?
No, that's the only two I could remember.
Okay, yeah. I'm struggling as well now.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just going to say we've got a weekend, so books. I was looking at my bookshelf earlier, and I've been reading some quite heavy sort of novels. So I thought I'd suggest some lighter things for people to read, perhaps, that's also well worth reading. So if you've never read The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón, or any of that trilogy set in Barcelona, Spain, Barcelona, Stu, which will appeal to you, that's very good. And then obviously, if you've never read the John Rebus novels by Ian Rankin, they're a nice little light read, perfectly acceptable, and they'll keep you entertained during lockdown. So that's my reading suggestion for the listeners. There we go.
Nice.
Is there anything else we want to... Oh, do we want to do birthdays?
Yeah. Go to birthdays. I'm on form. That's the thing. Only thing I'm good at.
They're rubbish today.
Oh,
they're not... I didn't find them particularly entertaining birthdays, and I've not prepared as well. I'm sorry. This is the second time I've done this. I'm so... Can you talk amongst yourself?
Okay.
Whilst I sort this out?
George, when are you getting a haircut?
Or just stay silent. It's fun. Okay. Right, here we go. Thursday, April the 16th. These are for Thursday, April the 16th. You might be listening to this on Friday, but there you go. I'll do George, the Crown actress Claire Foy. How old is she?
I've got absolutely no idea, and I can tell from Stu's face he doesn't even know who she is. So I'm going to say 40.
Kevin, do you want to guess, or do you not know?
Claire Foy. I'm going to go 37.
Very close. She's 36.
Oh.
You are very close with these. She keeps her Golden Globe in the bathroom. Doesn't say which bathroom.
No.
Just says the bathroom. Maybe there's only one bathroom in the whole world.
Yes, a bathroom. I like that. Much better.
It'll be better than the one at York.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Stu, how old is former Pope Benedict XVI?
90.
Any other guesses?
Benedict.
88.
That was the previous Pope, wasn't it?
Yeah. How old did you say, George?
88.
All right.
I'm going to say 83.
Stu was close. It's actually 93.
Is he? Good grief.
He has to be old, didn't he?
Not too hot on my popes.
You can't even hear me.
We've lost you.
I think I'm back. I went for a second.
You are back now, yes.
I'm back. Right. Mirror reader James Lamprell of Ramsgate, boo, in Kent. Stu,
A town that burnt down its own library.
doesn't surprise me.
I'll go for 21.
Okay. Kevin?
What's his name? James
Lamprell.
James Lamprell. I think he is today 70 years old. Without any knowledge of who he is. 70.
And George?
I will say 60.
The closest by a year is Stu with 21, because he's in fact 40.
I'll take that.
You are technically the closest. And then finally, Jack Gibson from Penrith in Cumbria. George, how old is Jack Gibson from Penrith in Cumbria, which is where all the
old people,
all people live that are young and have moved south?
I'm going to say 90.
Right, Stu?
100.
Right, wow, okay. Kevin?
James Gibson.
Jack Gibson.
Jack Gibson, 10.
Kevin is closest. He's 21.
Ah, 21. I said that last time.
Oh.
There we go. Anyway, that's it. I think we say goodbye at this point.
Yeah, goodbye.
And that's pretty much it. That's all we've got to say. Thank you very much for joining us. Aaron Ramsdale is a legend. Kevin, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Good evening.
George, thank you.
Thank you.
Stu.
Thank you.
And we just got a glimpse of him there, but Unai Emery, thank you very much for joining us again.
It's a pleasure.
Alexa Bliss, back first, milk last. We will speak to you again on Monday.